here and we are in motion. We do this thing, taking off fast lane, no coasting, and everything is gonna be all right. We talking about 80s R&B versus 90s R&B tonight. What's going on? How y'all feeling? Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. I am glad to be here with y'all, and I hope y'all glad to be here with me too. We are gonna have some fun tonight. I need to know where all my 80s and 90s R&B and hip hop enthusiasts are. I have to say R&B and hip hop instead of hip hop and R&B because we're really talking about 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. And the reason that I chose that is because it's a throwback, it's nostalgic, and there really are when you think about 80s R&B and when you think about 90s R&B, you see a big difference. You see some of the transition from the 80s R&B into the 90s R&B, but for the most part, they are two different animals, and we're going to show you why. So are y'all ready? Are y'all ready to have this conversation? I am. So y'all probably wondering, like, so where the congas? Where the conga drums? Where the conga drums? Where the conga? Where the congos? Well, tonight we doing the bongos. We not doing the congas. We are doing the bongos. So are y'all ready? Let's do it. I got something funky for y'all. Let's go. Yeah. 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 Hit the like button. Do me solid. Yeah. Shout out to my baby cousin. Just got his master's degree today. Yeah. Family pride. up, y'all? Let's go. Urban Therapy with Sun 752. With this your daily. It's the daily go-getter-mism show. You think it ain't when it is? You think it won't when it is? We are here and we are in motion. We do this thing, taking all fast lane, no coasting, and everything is gonna be all right. We talk about 80s R&B versus 90s tonight, and everything is gonna be okay. How come it's gonna be okay? Cause I say so, and that's the way it's gotta go, because I don't wanna hear no negativity tonight, yo. Your choice is yours, and so is your preference, but we gonna do this thing. Gotta look up references so we would know what we talk about, so get your Google right. Yo, do it right, and everything is gonna turn out fine, and I'ma get mine. And you gonna get yours. We go on tours and we gonna make sure we take a tour through the girls' drawers. And that's only if your man can stand and you're ready for this thing. Yo, strike up the band. I wish I had a couple of other players with me, but since I'm doing it solo, we gonna make sure that you see that we can get it popping by ourselves. But I'ma make sure that y'all with me when I get my wealth, cause I'ma spread it around. I never get nervous. Yo, I'm here at a nigga service, and I'ma make sure that you stay down like a submarine. Make sure that you keep your sneakers clean. Yeah, a new pair every day. And that's just the way that we living, not beyond our own means, but we make sure we do our thing behind the scenes. It's not always being in front of the cam, but you gotta know who I am. Yo, I know who you are. You a star, just like the ones up in the sky. Don't ask why. Yeah, I know you fly, and I know you down, and I understand. And yeah, we both brown, and so I don't have to act like I'm gonna front. I'm gonna make sure that we get what we want, as long as it's grounded in something good. Let's get this concept understood. My name is Sun75, and I do this thing and make sure that I survive. And I'ma ride for my peoples each and every day. It's gotta be that way. Yo, when I was just a little young, and I made sure that I had to do the things I was struggling. I try to be a man, not trying to go above my age, but I was a lot of rage going through my blood, and I stayed mad. But I wasn't really trying to be out there being bad. Never sold drugs, never used none. Tried to be a good father and son. Yo, I didn't have kids till I was like 35, but you understand, yo, I'm still alive. Y'all know the deal. I'ma tell you what's up, and I'm telling you just how I feel. Yeah. All right, y'all ready to have this talk? Let's do it. All right. So check, peep game. I didn't have on my beads. I wasn't rocking the struggle beads because I had actually taped this. I had actually taped that set on the bongos earlier, and I could hear the necklaces like moving when I'm beating. So I didn't want that to come across on I didn't want that to come across on the camera in the beginning of the intro of the show or whatever. So I said, well, let me take the joints off, and then I'll put them on. Matter of fact, put all my shit on, put my uniform on. This is really a pinky ring. This is really a pinky ring that fits on my wedding finger. Because when I had it sized down to a pinky ring, but when I did it, it was still like a little loose on the pinky, and I lost it a couple of times, and I was like, nah. I said, nah. All right, so how y'all feeling, man? Y'all good? Tonight we talking about 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. Who will win? Hold on, y'all. I gotta turn the fan on a little bit. You know what I mean? When I'm beating on the skins, it gets a little warm. And even though it wasn't hot today, by any means, It wasn't cold. And I guess I'm still healthy enough to work up a sweat. So what up with y'all? What's good? All right. 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. Without thinking about it long and hard, who would win? Who wins in your mind? What do you listen to more? If you have some tapes or records left over, which one do you have more of? The 80s R&B or the 90s R&B? Now, there's a lot that goes along with this whole thing. There really is, because when you really think about the state of R&B in the 80s and the state of R&B in the 90s, to me, the R&B really came of age in the 90s. R&B kind of ruled the 90s. It really did. R&B, to me, struggled in the 80s. It wasn't that there weren't stars, but it sounded like the 80s R&B was really struggling to find its identity. You had some stars, you had some rising stars, you had some cats that really did well in the 80s, but R&B didn't really have its stamp. It wasn't a household name in a lot of people's homes, in a lot of people's neighborhoods. It didn't have that crossover appeal like 90s R&B had. And that's not to say that 90s R&B ever reached the status of 80s pop music, but that's what 80s R&B had to contend with. It had to contend with 80s pop music. And so a lot of the R&B in the 80s was trying to mimic pop music. So like I said, it didn't really have its identity, or it was struggling to find its identity. So we're going to talk about that tonight, and y'all may not agree with that. You may not agree with that, because there were some really big stars in the 80s R&B scene or 80s R&B genre, but when you really think about it, R&B in the 80s was mainly a black thing. Y'all may disagree with that too, but I kind of have some proof. So we can debate tonight, we can argue tonight, we can talk tonight, but we gonna be friends by the end of the night, because we always have fun on a Friday night, because we talk about, we delve into that music section, and you know what I mean, and it start getting all nostalgic, like, yo, I remember that. Yo, I remember that. Yo, I remember that. If y'all want to call into the show, you already know. The number to call is area code 267-874-1949. That's the number to call. I said 267-874-1949. Yes, y'all. I said a 267-874-1949. Yeah, get on the line. I said a 267-874-1949. Yeah, get your shine, baby. Get your shine, baby. Get your shine, baby. Get your shine, baby. 267-874-1949, baby. Call 267-874-1949. And I'll get you on up in here. As you know, if you're new, then you should know that there is no censorship on this show. We believe in free speech. However, YouTube does not believe in that. So you will see, you will see and hear a lot of content creators. Okay, we good.
You have a call from.
All right, hold on. Caller with the last number is 4828. Let me just finish this intro and then we get into it. All right, so you'll hear a lot of content creators use all kinds of words that aren't words, like unalive, like, you know, self-delete, all kinds of crazy words, because, you know, YouTube is messing with your money if you actually say words that are words that they don't like, and it's because of the advertising. I get it. And I have to play the game to a certain extent. But when you call on that phone, you can say whatever you want to say. And I'm going to prove that to you in just about 1 second. So it's 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. I said 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. Maritza Allberg, what's good? How you feeling? And T. Carey, right? Morning, noon, and night. It's always great to have my peoples going directly into your site. Spliff out. Was that Oliver or is that Olivier? What's good? And my man West. What up, West? Thanks for coming through. Appreciate you. Cheryl Halsey, you already know all day, every day. Always appreciate you coming through. All right, we have a call on the line right now. Let's get straight to it. Caller with the last numbers 4828. Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. What's on your mind tonight? What's good?
I like this topic.
Do you
I
now?
like this topic.
Oh,
I do.
Oh, okay. I do. Oh, the Stevie Wonder. That's what's up. I caught that. So
Most people wouldn't have, but yeah, I like this topic. I called it because you said something like, first you said that 80s R&B was struggling to find its identity. I agree with that, but I don't think that 80s R&B was just a black thing.
Oh, okay.
Unlike 60s, 70s, 90s, and above, 80s R&B was not just a black thing. It wasn't. That was one decade where it wasn't, primarily with black people. This is just my opinion. There was a lot of crossover in the 80s. So a lot of the 80s R&B was popish or rockish, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't feel like, R&B regained its urban or POC identity again until the 90s. So the 80s were really on some, we are the world type shit. And so, it's okay, but I don't feel like the 80s R&B was just for one particular race.
Okay.
Everybody was trying to sound like each other.
Okay. Well, I'll explain the reason that I say that it was mainly a black thing.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, what's your choice out the gate when you say 80s R&B versus 90s R&B? Gun to your head, who wins? Who you rolling with?
Gun to my head, it would have to be 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not that I didn't like 80s R&B. I did.
Okay.
But,
no. I mean, I understand. Like I said, gun to your head.
Made you wanna. It was 90s R&B. You have to think like SWB. It had you. It was like, oh, this is great. I'm messing with this guy here, or he has a girl. This is great. Like he makes me weak in my knees. This is awesome. So like the 90s R&B made you wanna. I don't know. It made you want to be in love. It made you want to have sex. It made you want to do all kinds of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just the feel of it was different because 80s R&B they were storytellers. Like you were listening to a story and that was fine, but 90s R&B had you relating to the story that they were telling. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So
I know. I know exactly what you're saying. I do. Now
so that's why I would pick 90s.
Okay. All right. The reason why I said that 80s R&B was mainly a black thing is because I'm talking about the pure R&B. There was so much R&B in the 80s that wasn't really R&B. When you look at the R&B of the 80s, you're thinking about like in the beginning of the 80s, you still have that disco residue in music.
Yep.
It was fading out. You know what I mean? So R&B was competing against the fading disco, fading funk, and the rising pop, which would rule the 80s. So when you start, I heard what you said when you said there was a lot of guitar and Like there
Yeah,
was
it was like pop rockish.
That's
There
what I'm
was
saying.
a lot
See,
of crossover all throughout the 80s.
but that's why I don't consider that to be R&B. I'm not counting that.
But you have to, because it was R&B for that decade.
Well, I'm going to tell you why I don't.
That defined that decade.
Well, the reason that I don't call it R&B is because that's not the charts that it was ruling. It was battling. It was battling on the pop charts, and so if you made it to the pop charts, you really sold a lot. So you had R&B singers that were doing their thing on the pop charts. You had the Michael Jackson. What did he do? Go straight pop. What did you have? Lionel Richie, who came from a straight soul R&B group, the Commodores. What did he do? Straight pop. Even Tina Marie, the white soul goddess. What did she do? What was her biggest hit? Lover Girl, straight pop. You'll never hear that. You'll never hear that song played at a black cookout. You'll hear all of her other songs at the cookout. You will never hear her top selling song at the. I mean, am I lying? Don't nobody.
No.
None of us like that song. And you know, I'm okay. Anyway, so when I talk about the purist in R&B, you're talking about the Luther Vandrosses. You're talking about the Atlantic Stars, the SOS bands, the Keith Sweat was starting to come on. You know what I mean? We had Rising Stars coming up, but you know, like the Kool and the Gangs and all of that, pop. They was R&B ish, but they were doing their thing on the pop charts, and that's where they were headed. That was their focus at the time. They weren't like R&B wasn't proud in the 80s. You had your Stephanie Mills, you had your Patti LaBelle's, you had your Shaka Khan's, you had I mean the who's who of R&B stars. And that's why I say it was mostly a black thing. It was literally considered black music, and so was hip hop. That was considered that black music. That was that nigga shit. But the bands, the groups, the artists that made it to the pop charts, they weren't looking at those artists or those songs as R&B songs. Even the R&B songs that made it to the pop charts, like, I don't care what nobody say. Only the songs that didn't make it, like on Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Thriller is not an R&B album. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. It's not.
No, it's not. So if you remember, because the 80s and the 90s were, in my opinion, the two decades when music lovers were really into award shows. I mean, really. Like, you were like, I gotta watch it. Mm-hmm. And most people were like, I gotta watch it. If you remember, in the 80s, this is why I say they were confused in the 80s. There were a few years where the categories, they didn't know how to separate the fucking music. Like, the categories were pop rock. Mm-hmm. You know,
you're right.
Pop R&B. Then they had all separate. Okay, pop, rock, and R&B. Then they had soul. They were like, it was like they were testing it out. They didn't know. Nobody knew.
Well, see, they didn't really care. You know what I mean? I mean, just being honest, they didn't care. In the 90s, they made them listen because they was outselling. Like with hip hop and R&B, they started coming on strong. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't great R&B acts that were like really doing their thing. Like Luther Vandross was considered a black artist, and he was. And he didn't make crossover music, but he was so strong that white people did know Luther Vandross, but they wasn't like, you know what I mean? He was like, yeah, I know that Luther Vandross guy. You know what I'm saying? But you didn't like, he wasn't tearing up nothing on the pop charts, but he was wreaking havoc on the R&B charts. You know what I'm saying? So groups like him, Mtume, what's that group Sky? You know, you had real R&B groups, but they weren't. They were mostly a black thing. I'm not saying that they were unknown, totally unknown, because they would make it to like 25 on the pop charts. So they, you know, it's not that they didn't get any spins or whatever, but they weren't charting like a Whitney Houston. And if you think about it, Whitney Houston came out as an R&B artist, but you see what they was trying to do with her. You know what I mean? Like, so she came out with "You Give Good Love" and "Saving All My Love for You," right? So we like, all right, we got our own, we got our own new R&B star. She's gonna be great. But which song of hers really broke her out? Hey, I wanna dance with somebody. We wasn't like, get that bullshit out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wasn't really. That wasn't our song. It was our song, but it wasn't our song. You understand what I'm saying? Like on black radio, they not playing that song. They gonna play the other songs on her album that are R&B worthy. Like, it wasn't like being an R&B artist in the 80s wasn't as cool. They were battling the residue, the leftovers from the disco era, the funk era. Now they battling pop, which was killing everything. Hip hop was rising, and then you started blending a little bit of hip hop and R&B with. Is it safe to say that the first hip hop, the blended hip hop and R&B song was probably "I Feel for You" by Shaka Khan and Melly Mel? Was that the first one?
Oh. I need to think on that one.
I'm thinking that was the first one.
Man, I love that song.
Yeah. I think that was the first one. And then, Heavy D had a song with Janet Jackson, but wasn't that like at the end of the 80s?
Oh my gosh. I gotta really go through my.
And Rakim had a song. Rakim had a song with Jodie Watley. Was that in the 80s or the 90s?
I don't even remember.
Okay. Well, I think that "I Feel for You" was probably the first song where they started fusing, to combine R&B and hip hop. So, like in the 90s, to me, that's when R&B was like, hold up, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? Like, we about to show y'all something. Because you had New Edition doing their thing in the 80s. You had Bobby Brown killing it. But look at Bobby Brown. Now, I consider Bobby Brown to be a R&B artist. But you heard mad white people, you know what I mean? Especially them Italians. They love some Bobby Brown. You couldn't tell them shit. I had met me a spaghetti eater that didn't like Bobby Brown. They was like, yo, he was like a fucking god for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So, but he was R&B, and so was Guy. As we go along, I'll start thinking of more and more groups or whatever. But that's why I considered them to be more of a black thing. They were on their way, to getting more of a pop appeal. But in the 80s, they was sort of like, they were pretty much a black thing. You know what I mean? Hip hop in the real R&B, not that dancing on the 85.
I love that song so much. That shit was a whole pop.
Hold on. Let me give a shout out to my man Gorilla God King. You know he always be representing, and he came through with the super chat. With super sticker. Yo, I appreciate you, my dog. You already know, my son. Yo. Hold on, let me Gorilla Kai King always coming through doing his thing. You know how it go. I'ma buy some bling with the dough that you gave me because I had like 1,999. Yeah, so I shine because I pay the tax and I'm never gonna get caught off with the act. Yo, sit back, relax, do your thing, chill, because we about to do this thing tonight and it's about to get real. And still I rise. Yo, I appreciate you coming on through. No surprise. Yo, he's the God, he's the gorilla, he's the king. Yo, 100 can't take his thing. Yeah, 100 against the God Gorilla King. What the fuck are you talking about? He about to do his thing. Yo, good looking out, my dude. Good looking out. Thank you. Thank you so much. And also, June's Music Corner. What's good? What's good? She said, we all love Bobby Brown. We all love some Bobby Brown. Shout out to Bobby Brown. I just want God to fix Bobby Brown. Lord, can you fix Bobby Brown? Lord, please let Bobby Brown be able to sing and dance again. Maybe you can't do it at the same time, but you know what I mean? Let him get back to one. Either fix his voice or fix his legs. Let him drop like about 40 pounds.
You know what? I can't.
It don't make no sense that the rest of, even Johnny Gill can dance better than Bobby Brown now. Come on. That's unacceptable.
Oh, look in the comments. Look in the comments.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta chill. You gotta chill. Oh my God. Oh shit. Yo, shout out Marissa Allberg, Seth Audio, and Kim's Wibbs. What up, Kimmy? What's good? Hold on. I missed somebody. Dimples D's. What's good? How you feeling? Good. Glad to see all of y'all. What's up? So yeah. Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
You have a call.
We ready?
From.
All right. So as we make sure you turn that. Watch your devices. Watch your devices. All right. So like we were saying. Well, that was why I felt the way I felt about 80s R&B. Now, 80s R&B had some great shit, but it was struggling to find its identity. Like, take Janet Jackson. Was Janet Jackson R&B or pop?
Pop.
Exactly. But she wasn't supposed to be. She was supposed to be R&B. Let's take, now, the funny thing is, you take an anomaly like Prince. Prince is R&B, but what was he in the 80s?
Well, according to the music award shows, they put him in rock.
Really?
Yeah, there were a few years they put him in rock.
Now you look at if you look at Prince, right? Now Prince in 1980 is straight R&B, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Prince came out in 80, what was it, 82, with 1999, with the 1999 album, Prince is still R&B. Now you can hear him evolving a little bit, right? Because he know what's going on. You know, he always had his ear to the streets. Now you take the When Doves Cry album came out, or should I say, Purple Rain, the Purple Rain movie and the Purple Rain album. Now that came out in 84. Now, Purple Rain was pop. But it still had strong R&B appeal to me. But you know what I mean? Let's get a lot of guitar going on with Prince in the 80s. I don't know with that album. Now, and then that corny ass album with Raspberry Beret after that.
You lose Graffiti Bridge and them all the. But
listen. Look, you know Prince was a great album, mediocre album, good album. What the hell was he doing? Album type of dude. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
That's what. Do you remember the year They were like, and the nominees for the best pop album, they had him in like 3 different categories, and even the audience was like, well, damn. He was in like more than one category because they didn't know where to place him.
Yo, he had,
and that's why moving forward they said no, we're going to take each artist and they are going to be in a certain genre and that's it. Because he was fucking shit up.
What? Yeah, Prince was all over the place. He played too many damn instruments. He produced too many goddamn people. Yeah, you don't know where to put him. Just, anywhere you put him, he gonna work. He gonna rock. You know what I'm saying? There are probably only about 2 categories in the Grammys out of all of them 50 genres or so of music that he didn't fit into. But yeah. So when I talk about R&B, I'm talking about R&B from a more of a purist standpoint. I'm not saying that I'm right about it. You know what I'm saying? But from my standpoint, what I qualify as being R&B is the only, like, I'm not counting it as anything else. Like, no, this is R&B. Like, you take like a Steve Arrington, R&B. Nah, it ain't none of that pop shit. You know what I mean? I make you weak at the knees. You know it. You know what I mean? A fucking Freddie Jackson. You know, Rock Me Tonight. You guys gonna find that on a pop station? That was that nigga shit. And it was great. It was real great. Shout out to Fruity Freddie. I don't care what nobody say. In the 80s, he was singing to a woman. He said it.
What you know?
Yo, caller with the last number is 5639. Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. Thank you for holding. What's good?
You're just so tickled.
I'm just saying. It took me 2 weeks to think about this topic.
2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
It took 2 weeks.
Hey, other caller. Yay. It's another girl. So what are we talking about? Where are we at with this one? Since it took you 2 weeks to get it together, where are we with this?
You don't know stop playing. Stop playing. You don't know the topic of the show?
I know the topic, but your topics never match the topic when you start talking about them. So where are you? What place are you with the topic right now?
Oh, we were talking about 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. So first of all, without having to think about it for a long time, what's your preference?
No. You're supposed to say gun to your head.
Okay, gun to your head. Which one?
90s R&B.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that seems consistent.
Age is cool, but age I listened to everything. I was still in school, junior high school. So, I mean, it was what it was. I wasn't taking time to listen to a lot of music unless I was on the bus going to school or hanging out with my friends. And then after that, we were in the mall listening to music, and sometimes we were listening, but we weren't. And even then, I didn't grasp the full concept of what I was listening to. But 90s R&B, that's a whole different life. I'm grown men, and the feeling is different. Yeah.
Listen, 90s R&B, to me, is when R&B said, no, we're cooler than everybody else.
Yeah.
In the 80s, I don't think that R&B was as proud as it needed to be. It hadn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't pushing motherfuckers aside and throwing elbows and like, get up, give me the fucking mic. Get off my stage now. You know what I mean? You and them bullshit electronic instruments. I don't want to hear none of that shit. You know?
But I don't think we had the same taste for it in the 80s. Like, yeah, I listened to Regina Belle and let me see, Anita Baker and all that in the 80s, and that R&B was cool, but it was cool. That's all it was. It wasn't, I didn't have the same, like, attachment to it as I did when in the 90s, because in the 90s I'm an adult. In the 80s I'm still a kid, so it's like come and go. But in the 90s now I can get into what some of the songs meant and how they made me feel and so on and so forth.
And you know what? I was saying that earlier. I was saying like in the 80s, you know, R&B was kind of like all over the place. But in the and like all of the songs felt like everybody was being a storyteller. But in the 90s, you felt like you could relate to what they were singing about, like directly relate. And you were like, oh yeah, like you know, you really felt like you could relate to what they were talking about.
Right. In the 80s, I couldn't understand Mickey Howard's Love Under New Management. I knew the words and I loved the song. It sounded good. What the hell was I talking about? Some Love Under New Management.
What you talking about? You was 19 years old.
No.
You just wasn't paying attention.
Exactly.
That song was monumental. Even I understood that shit.
It was, but you liked it because she could sing. You didn't really like it because you understood what Love Under New Management, like you really internalized it.
It wasn't nothing complicated.
She's singing.
Wait. It wasn't nothing complicated about that goddamn song. She explained exactly.
No, that's not what we're just talking about. How a song makes you feel, how a song moves you. So the '90s R&B moved you in a certain way. We're not saying she's not saying that Love Under New Management wasn't a bomb song. It was like okay, you know, certain songs in the '80s moved you. Certain songs.
But in the
90s as an era, as a decade, 90s R&B, you got a T-shirt. There are people wearing T-shirts that says, "I want 90s R&B kind of love."
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You weren't asking for 80s R&B. I never ever in my life want 80s R&B kind of love because it was shoddy. I want 90s R&B kind of love.
Wait a minute. How can you say it was shoddy?
In the 90s you understood, baby, hold on to me. In the 90s you understood it, you felt that, you wanted that. But in the 80s I wasn't. Okay, girl. Okay, Mickey Howard.
I don't know. I think that they had a lot of songs in the 80s that really, really made you feel some kind of way, but it may have had a lot to do with where you were in your life at that time. Now, if you had a few serious relationships under your belt, even if you know, and shit, what feels more serious than when you were a teenager? Shit, every little act should be hurt. That should be hurting you.
I was, you know, I graduated in '91, so I wasn't doing, you know, Mickey Howard type shit, you know.
No, I understand what you. I mean, I understand the maturity in a Mickey Howard song. And it had a jazzy feel, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, as far as the lyrics are concerned, like Love Under New Management, in other words, you got a new man. Like, that's all she was saying. Like, yo, I'm not.
I really cared about that in the 80s or understood it. I was class of '89. I didn't care about that kind of stuff. Because I was still with the same person and that was still like, I don't know if I really like this dude or not. Like, let me go hang out with my friends. So it just wasn't the same. But in the 90s, yeah, it took a new meaning then. Then it stood out, and it was, oh, this is what she's talking about. And here this is where we are with it.
So hold on. So let me get this straight.
Okay, this is cool.
So let me get this straight. In 1983, you didn't feel it when New Edition sung "Is This the End"?
No.
I sure the hell did. I was like, yo, man, this the realest shit I've heard in my life. When he said, Mama told me one day this was going to happen, but she never told. I was like, yo, man, this.
I agree. Man, with his high voice, I was like, wow, this song is all the way real.
And DeBarge? DeBarge had you feeling some kind of way. Love me in a special way. What more can I say? Love me. What the fuck is y'all talking about, man? Y'all cheating. You know what I'm saying? What we not gonna do, even though 90s R&B was better, we not gonna be disrespecting what 80s R&B like they wasn't saying shit or they wasn't emoting nothing. Cause they was.
That's not what we said. We said that there were standouts. Even you said that there were standouts in the 80s. We all agree on that.
But I'm talking about, hold on. Luther Vandross in the 80s was way better than that Luther Vandross, that garbage Luther Vandross in the 90s.
That's true.
You gonna respect Skinny Luther.
So no, I'm not. Not at all. No, I'm not going to respect no skinny ass Luther. You know what I mean? May he rest in fat Luther peace. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect no skinny Luther. No, the fat Luther went to heaven. The skinny Luther. Well, we know, you know what I mean? I don't want to get biblical on you, but it is what it is. What we not going to do is I'm not going to go evangelist. I'm not going to go evangelistic and right-wing Republican. We ain't going to do all that. We ain't going to do that. When that motherfucker say he turned a pop song or a soft rock song into one of the greatest R&B songs ever. What he did with Superstar? What? And y'all was only like 4 when that song came out. You ain't gonna tell me you ain't feel that shit.
Luther's whole career was cover songs. But
I'm saying though, but yes, his whole career was cover songs. But what he did with Superstar, I bet you took your little 6-year-old ass and parked it near the speaker and said, long ago.
I sure did.
That's right, you did.
So far away.
That's right.
Yes, I did.
What the hell?
It was just competition. It was just competition to see who could sing it the best or the loudest with my cousin.
I'm so
in love with.
Kim, you're not. Hold on, goddamn it.
That's all it was.
Hold on, wait a goddamn minute. See, wait. Yes, it is. And what we not gonna do? What we not gonna do tonight? Hold on. What we not gonna do tonight is I'm not gonna let you desecrate. Talking about something. It wasn't no feeling. And Superstar or A House Ain't a Home? Are you what?
Oh, I didn't have any feeling to those songs. I wasn't in love.
You were a robot. You were a robot. Just say that.
I actually felt Luther.
Kim has established herself as a robot before she became an adult. She was fucking $6 million, fucking $6 million man kid and shit. This shit is unacceptable. This shit is unacceptable. We not doing this shit.
My ass was pumped.
Not doing this shit. Superstar and House Without a Home. House is not a home. What? No. You damn you alien. You know what I mean? E.T. We got E.T. on the. Even E.T. had emotions. Even E.T. cried. You know what I mean? He said,
Listen, I was about being a kid. I like music. My mother plays it all the time. I listened to it. I sang it because they sang it. My cousins and I would get together in circles and out-sing each other or out-howl each other. But there was like no, oh my God, I'm so in love. And oh, this song makes me feel so in love with somebody. I didn't give a damn. So it was just, but in the 90s, I gave a damn about what I was singing and what I was listening to. Luther was great, but the song for me in the 80s wasn't the love songs. It was Bad Boy, what is the name of it? Oh, God, I can't think of it. But you know what I'm talking about. That one. No. That's because we danced and partied to it.
Okay, so I think I'm understanding what's going on here, even if I don't like it. So you mean to tell me that the only way that you can enjoy like a love song is if you're in love?
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is in the 80s, that wasn't something that that wasn't there for me. I didn't have any when I was with my high school sweetheart, who was my son's father, I wasn't in love with him. I liked him a lot eventually, but I didn't like him until the end of it. The end of the 80s. In the beginning, I didn't even like him. So I was so focused on just having a good time with my friends. So I didn't have no love thing going on then. Those songs didn't mean as much to me. Like I saw other people enjoy them like that. But we just sang the songs. That's it.
So wait a minute.
But in the 90s is when I had a feeling for those songs. I understood them more. There was a lot more maturity there. And I could relate to the lyrics. But in the 80s, especially as a kid, I was damn lyrics. We were singing songs like Little Nicky. And then we didn't know what the hell we were singing until one day some grown person was like, if you say those words again, I'll beat the hell out of you.
You didn't know what Prince was talking about in Darling Nikki?
No!
What?
Why would I know what he was talking about?
Wait, hold on. Something ain't fit. What age did you have your son?
Huh?
How old were you when you had your son?
20.
You were 20. How long were you dating your son's father?
Since we were in high school.
Okay, so how deep in high school? Senior year, junior year, sophomore year?
He started to me my freshman year. And I didn't start paying him attention until the summer after my sophomore year.
Were you dating him in your sophomore year?
I mean, I guess. I don't know if it's how we're dating.
Look, we're not going to do no revisionist history, right?
Like, I let him walk me through school and carry my books and walk me to the lockers. And I may have kissed him every now and then, but that was it. And even then, it was like, hey, get off me. So, again, I'm telling you, my first 2 years of high school was just, listen, I was a babysitter since my brothers came on this planet. So school was my escape.
Kim, the lyrics to Darling Nikki.
I didn't want to have nothing to do with babies and boys like that.
Okay.
So there was no emotion there.
Listen, you went to school with somebody with plenty of people that was that had babies while they was in high school, because that's what the 80s was all about.
I did not.
What? Nobody was pregnant in your high school?
I'm not saying nobody, but we didn't have a lot of girls who were pregnant. And if they were, my mother was like, don't you go around that nasty bitch. That's just how it was.
You had to go to school? Fuck.
But I didn't hang around girls like that.
Like, you better not go to home. You better not go to homeroom. You better not go to homeroom when that girl is pregnant and shit. You go to your first period class.
I'm telling you, there was not a lot of girls in my school who had babies.
All right, well,
if they were pregnant, they disappeared and didn't come back to school.
In my city, every school had teenage pregnancy. And that was whether it was public, parochial, private, whatever. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it didn't exist. It just wasn't a lot of it.
Okay, but now
if they didn't come back to school, and we talked about them.
Okay, I mean, okay, all right. So okay, I'm starting to understand this a little bit more. But the song "Darling Nikki" literally says, "I once knew a girl named Nikki. I guess you could say she was a sex fiend."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there anything left to the imagination what he's talking about? Let me see. We didn't have the internet. Let me look in the dictionary. Sex fiend.
But again, all that meant to me was they were having sex. All the lyrics, I never sat and really paid attention to the lyrics. We just sang the songs. There was no thought to it. We were just singing the songs. That's it.
Okay.
Then it's just like now you sit and think back some of the songs and you're like, wait a minute, that's what that song meant? Or that's what this song was talking about? Like Rick James, Mary Jane. For the longest, I really thought he was talking about a chick named Mary Jane.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know he was talking about drugs.
Okay. All right. No, I'll give you the Mary Jane. I'll give you the Mary Jane thing. But you know, D'Angelo was talking about weed and brown sugar too, right?
I mean, I know.
You
But
know,
he was in the 90s, so by then I already knew.
okay, because a lot of people in the 90s did not know. They did not know he was talking about weed.
They didn't know right away.
I knew people who did not know. I had to explain it to them.
I didn't know right away.
You know, he talking about chocolate tie and all of that. I was like, yeah. Well, you know, they didn't have that
So
kind. They didn't have
when
that
he
kind of
came
weed
out,
everywhere.
He was like a sex symbol, and he was selling sex. So all we're thinking about, especially for a female, was thinking, oh, he wants some of my brown sugar. That's all.
Well, if you
On the cover of that album, I believe he's smoking weed on the cover of that album, isn't he?
I don't. Well, all I know is this. See, back in the 80s and 90s. Well, see,
that's when I knew. I was like, oh, okay.
But because you lived in New York and y'all had different kinds of weed, they didn't have different kinds. They had mostly Reggie and other places in the United States. So I understood. I'm just saying.
Well,
you know,
I don't either, but
you would have still heard of it.
Knew.
If you lived in New York, you would have known what chocolate tie was. Just like you would have known
that all the time.
Yeah, you would have known what hash was and all that kind, because they had a lot of different kinds of weed. You couldn't buy no chocolate tie on the streets in Philly. Trust me, you couldn't.
So I wouldn't know what that was in Indiana. So.
Yeah, I mean nowadays everybody has basically the same shit, but back then everybody else except for like New York and LA and places like that, they was mostly smoking the Reggie. They didn't have as much access to designer weed, but yeah, I can understand how certain lyrics could get lost on certain people, but not in Darling Nikki, because I mean he. I
don't mean to cut you off. Troy wants to call in, so I'm gonna drop down so he can call in.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in.
Morning.
Of course. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Troy knocking on it. He's like, y'all let me in. Let me in. I'm playing. Why y'all got the lines crossed out?
He should have been here on time. Isn't that what he said to me last night? He got to come in at 2:30. Black, you have a call from George.
Oh my goodness.
That's fucking right, man.
Hey, Late Bloomer, how are you?
I was already waiting. I said I gotta wait for whoever going to click off. So I said I'm gonna wait.
I'm sorry, that's not the same as being here and time enough to call.
You got a nerve.
I do. Today I do. I got time today.
I got a whole hour to talk. Last week you called in at what 2:55? At 2:55?
She called in the next day.
She called in when you was doing the birthdays.
Welcome to tomorrow.
I think you was doing it. I think he was doing rock out, and do the damn thing. What she called it.
So we talk about stuff from the past.
That's right.
That's the problem. Why?
Yeah,
we can't move forward as a people. We stuck in the past.
You're right. You right, Kim. You're right. We need to stop.
That's right. You know what? That's exactly why we can't move forward. Exactly why.
That's why black people. This is exactly why black people can't have nothing.
Start using big words with Kim because you mean I'm bewildered. My mouth is agape. I still don't understand. You didn't understand the words to Darling Nikki. It said it in the song.
I'm trying to tell you, we were singing the songs with no thought. We were just, we were listening to the beat.
Y'all listening to the instrumental?
And that was it.
Was y'all listening to the instrumental?
I come from a group of people who still sing some of the wrong lyrics to the song because there was no internet when we did have it, we were not looking up song lyrics or they weren't available. So there were a lot of songs we didn't even sing the right lyrics to.
Hey, son.
Hey, I got nothing. I got
Let
nothing.
me just say this to you. You asked me, I'm gonna tell you from the door. The 80s R&B with me is my shit. 90s R&B, I can give a take, but the 80s R&B is the fucking blueprint to my life.
So you choose 80s R&B over 90s R&B?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, why?
New Edition, Atlantic Star. New Edition, Atlantic Star, Luther before Superstar, because he was in a group before that.
Yeah, he was.
You know, what else? Full Force. You know, Kid and Play. I mean, that's my fault. Let me take away Kid and Play.
About to say Kid and Play.
No, he wasn't. R&B was rap. But all that good R&B music, the bars, like you said, you know, all that great R&B right then and there. There's no way in the world that's the staple to great music. That's the staple. You sit down, you play some of that 80s R&B, and you got some of your little brothers or you got some of your adult brothers around in the 90s or something, and mom here, and she's like, boy, you don't know what I did to your father on that song.
Okay, so what I was saying,
you looking at your mom like, ew, you're nasty.
So what I was saying was that R&B in the 80s, from my point of view, was mostly a black thing, unless it was the crossover shit, which to me took away from its R&B appeal. But
but you know what? It's not even so much that we didn't do that. White America did that. The Grammys did that. They made them changes.
No, they didn't. They made them changes on their own. Some of them artists, they saw where pop was going and they made the choice on his own. Michael Jackson made the choice on his own. Lionel Richie made the choice on his own. Prince made the choice on his own.
But they followed the blueprint of what Michael wanted. They followed the blueprint because Michael wanted that.
And I'm not.
He yearned to get put on the pop charts.
Okay, but earned to get on the pop charts, but he did. Well, let's go crazy because that was not a Computer Blue. Those were not R&B. Darling Nikki, those weren't R&B songs.
No, they weren't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if When Doves Cry or Purple Rain were R&B songs.
Well, they dominated the R&B radio stations. They was playing on the white stations and the R&B stations. So
exactly. So they were exactly, and that's like I said.
So they are R&B.
The true R&B. What artists like Luther, like the ones you named.
Even Teddy.
Yeah, definitely.
Teddy before he was fucking with a Teddy.
Mm-hmm. The Shirley Murdochs, the Anita Bakers. You know what I mean? The ones that was basically the Budweiser Superfest performers.
Pebbles, you got Pebbles, you got Whitney Houston, you got Babyface.
You did. Mm-hmm.
You know, so all these R&B songs. I mean, I heard you speak on the bars. I still don't understand. Jim, you mean to tell me that, like Son said, you mean to tell me that is this the end didn't resonate in part of your life?
It did not make me feel like nothing. It was a great song.
Look, Troy.
But it didn't make me feel like
Troy.
I'm in love.
Troy,
I'm telling you, I
didn't give a fuck whether I was in love or not. It made me feel some kind of way. You know what I mean?
Listen, son, I ain't have a girl at the time, and I got emotional off the son.
Yo,
Ricky said, Mama told me one day it was going to happen. Yeah. And I'm getting emotional now because she never told me when. It told me it was the real, when I
it was the realest shit. It was the realest shit.
That song should have been played in church.
Man.
No.
Shout out to Gerald Mickelson. What's good?
You still answer my question.
My people's Miko, MKO. Okay, well, wait. What's your question?
Don't some of those songs fall under soul instead of R&B?
Well, soul and R&B is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely, because remember R&B stands for rhythm and blues. So yeah, soul and R&B is the same thing. But like I said, the purists of the R&B singers, they weren't as strong in the 80s as they were in the 90s. Now, on the same token, the 90s R&B started taking on more of a hip hop sound. So whereas R&B was struggling to find its identity in the 80s because you still had in the early 80s the residue of disco and funk. R&B was trying to find its place. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't charting as well as it may have been doing in the 70s, which is odd. You know what I mean? But I think in the 90s it started to really start. You know, it was cool to be an R&B singer again. In the 80s, it wasn't as cool because you wasn't getting as paid. You know, you weren't getting as many stages.
You gotta even think about the fact that you had Guy, you had Keith Sweat.
You did.
All these groups came into the 80s.
But remember, they were at the end of the 80s. You talking about Guy? Yeah, like Keith Sweat came out in 87. Guy came out in 87. It was it 87 or was it 88?
Well, either 80. It was between 87 and 88.
Okay, now you had what's that cornball? Albie Shore.
I think he came out in the 90s.
No.
He came out in the 80s. Yeah.
He definitely came out. He came out in 87 with Night and Day. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Even though I didn't like him, I thought, you know, listen, I worked at City Blue. They used to play Power 99 my whole 8-hour shift. I used to be like, oh God. Do they have any more fucking records?
My shit by Albie Shore was.
When did Genuine come out?
Definitely in the 90s. Definitely in the 90s.
He was 90s.
Yeah.
See, that's what it is. You like that high yellow gyrating ball. I don't really
like yellow men.
Yeah,
I'm yellow, so I don't really like yellow men.
I knew she was going to say that. I saw that coming. I knew she was going to veto that bill. Like, oh, wait, goddamn minute. Now, wait a minute. This is a one light skin relationship. Kim, this is a one light skin relationship here. We can't. No two scoops of vanilla in this motherfucker.
I mean, I'm just saying.
All right.
At the end of the day,
okay.
You know, I can understand why 90s R&B was there. You know, and they saying R. Kelly. Honestly, 90s R&B was controlled by two singers, Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men.
Control?
They controlled a majority of the 90s.
No, that's not accurate.
Listen. No. If you look at who topped the charts at that time, my fault, Whitney Houston. 2 and 3. Yeah, if you look at who topped the chart,
When you look at the begin, just like with 80s R&B, there's a big difference between like 80 to 85 and 85 to 90. So in the 90s, there's a big difference between 1990 to about 95 and 95 to 2000. There were a lot of changes that were taking place at that time. Because in the beginning of the 90s, what did you have in R&B? You had your Mickey Howards popping, you had your Leverts popping, you had your Gerald Leverts popping, you had your SWVs, you had your girl groups, you had your En Vogues, you had your Escapes, you had your TLCs, you had your 702s, you had
Destiny Child.
Now wait a minute, because they didn't come out until after 95, so they were on the second half. I'm talking about from 90 to 95.
That would be Escape.
So I gotta.
Did you say Escape?
Yeah, I said Escape. I gotta take 702 out of there because I don't think they was out in 95. I don't think they came out to like the 96s, 97s, you know, that kind of thing. But you had you still had some R&B stars from the 80s doing their thing, like Jody Watley. You still had Terrence Trent D'Arby's, even though Michael, Careless Whisper, what's his name?
George Michael.
Yeah, I'm trying to say Michael. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think that come first. Yeah, George Michael, even though...
That was a group, though, wasn't it?
No. I'm talking about George Michael, the solo. I'm talking about George Michael.
By himself in the 90s.
Well, you do know... No, let's talk about that, because you do know at the Grammys, Wham was nominated in the R&B category
For Careless
Whispers over Keith Sweat, and they won that song.
Well, the reason I brought up George Michael is because even though he wasn't considered to be an R&B artist, he had R&B songs that charted. You know what I'm saying? What was the song he had after Faith? Because Faith wasn't an R&B song, but he had another song on that album, a slow song on that album that was R&B work.
No,
Careless Whisper was definitely Wham and not George Michael by himself, right?
Right.
Okay. The Faith album by George Michael. Father Figure.
That's what I was getting ready to. I knew I had the song in my head. I just didn't know the song.
Yeah.
I will be your father figure to the end of time. Yeah, I remember that one.
I considered that to be an R&B song, but it could be argued that it was a pop song. But it was
he had tremendous crossover appeal.
Okay, no doubt about it. Most British artists, they respect R&B. So but what I'm saying is you had him crossing over from the 80s into the 90s. So that they still trying to figure out what they was going to do in the 80s. You understand what I'm saying? So
you gotta also remember in the 80s you had Billy Ocean too.
Okay, but
Billy was at some point in time he was the shit in the 80s.
I'm not claiming him.
I'm not claiming Billy Ocean.
No, I'm not claiming him. You can have him. You got Billy Ocean all to yourself. I'm not claiming that shit.
Why you not claiming me?
Because I didn't like him. That's why. Because I didn't like him. He was ass. That's why I'm not claiming him. Not claiming him. He don't get to be R&B.
You and Tanya from Everybody Hates Chris, the only two people, and she's a fictional character. And Troy.
You want to talk about the damn
Billy Ocean
from Everybody Hates Chris.
Fucking Billy Ocean. I'm good.
So nobody like sad songs. Nobody like
I like songs. I like songs that didn't make me want to break my damn Walkman. Those are the kind of songs I like.
I think the song was okay, but I was like, ooh, let me go get this Billy Ocean
I mean,
CD.
look, Kim, in the 80s, you didn't really love loud music.
I did not. You're correct.
So you can't really talk about Billy.
I certainly can.
You come off the only person that like him is you and the sister from off of fucking everybody.
fucking Billy Ocean. You know what I mean? Sometimes
shit, bro.
No, he was shit. Damn Billy Ocean.
Baby sad songs to make you cry. Shit.
Don't you do that. Don't you do that.
Fucking P-Bro.
I
Okay.
like Peebo Bryson.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Like, maybe go get a Peebo Bryson cassette.
Fucking Jeffrey Osborne.
Jeffrey Osborne was crossing over.
He didn't cross over.
Yes, he did. On the Wings of Love? What are you talking about?
Jeffrey Osborne.
Yes, he did.
That didn't cross over to pop.
Yes, it did. The first time I heard the song was on 98 WCAU Hot Hits. What are you talking about?
That's the first time you heard the song?
Yes.
Well, that must be what you were listening to, because that was on DAS.
I'm not
on DAS and Call 99.
But see, this is what I'm talking about with 80s R&B. It had a lot of pop appeal.
But that's the same thing with
No.
Same thing with some pop singers like David Bowie, George Michael.
David Bowie.
R&B.
Wait.
He's talking about specifically R&B that's solid R&B. And you didn't have a lot of solid R&B in the 80s. I get that. The 90s is when it was introduced, that it wasn't like nobody ever, Joe didn't cross over to pop.
Who didn't?
Joe.
No. But he was solid R&B in the 90s.
Joe was in the 90s.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I
Joe
said.
was in the late
90s.
90s.
SWV didn't cross over to pop. They were solid R&B. In Vogue was solid R&B.
They were all in the 90s.
I don't know. Not in Vogue. Not in Vogue. They had pop
And Vogue
appeal.
was in the 90s. And Vogue came out in the 90s. I remember when they came out because I was in college.
They came out in 1990. They came out in 1990.
I think it was 91, 92 they came out.
No, it was 1990.
No, the 90s.
They came out in 1990.
Right in front of you, Google it.
Okay.
And Jodeci didn't cross over either. Neither did Tony. Ooh, Tony.
Hold on. What year did En Vogue come out?
En Vogue formed in 1989.
1989.
Oh, wow.
They were formed in 89 and their debut album, Born to Sing, was released in 1990. Come on, man. You don't remember that summer?
Oh, now, this takes me out. You be throwing, you go right there, I'm the shit. Would you get your shit right?
I told you, but did I waffle on 1990? I said they came out in 1990. I remember that summer. That was a monumental summer in my life. You know, turning 20, that was a long, hot-ass summer because I was broke the first half of the summer, and then I was paid at the end of the summer. I'll never forget 1990. I was like, what the fuck? That shit was like a renaissance all in 3 months. You know what I'm saying? That shit was crazy. But yeah, I remember En Vogue. Shit. Riding my man 5.0, going down to the Greek. Shit, yeah, 1990 was unforgettable.
Yeah.
But
1990 Greek picnic was off the chain.
What?
Every Greek was off the chain until 13th Street Projects destroyed it.
No, 13 Project didn't destroy it. The plan was in motion. They was gonna take their park back. They wanted the plat back and they got it.
Well, between that and what they did to Center City and did to South Street.
All right, let's stay focused. So so 80s R&B, like I said, when I consider pure R&B, like I'm not talking about the stuff that had the crossover appeal, because like I said, in the 80s, R&B was struggling to find its identity. Now you had some strong singers and some pretty strong groups that helped solidify some shit and get it popping. But it was a little harder for R&B in the 80s. But in the 90s, R&B was you know what I mean, R&B was the shit. You know what I mean? R&B was really the new pop. They had it going on. You know, I mean, when you look at
Carrie White hit it on the head. She said R&B sucked you in, and then Blue Smoke in your face with neo soul. Even though they did make that a legit category, and some of those artists don't like to be called neo soul, but that's what it was.
Well, I loved neo soul when it was out.
I did too.
And it made me mad that they all sold the fuck out. They had their own shit, and then they bitched. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. It was better than house music. It was better than house music, I tell you that shit. It was better than house music. I'll tell you that shit.
Everything was better than house music.
They go with house music again.
Better than that shit.
Classical music over house
Hey, Troy, I tell you one thing was better than that fruity house music. That's for sure. It's better than that sissy music. It's better than that sissy cop shoes and baggy jabot wearing music. It's like, all right, anyway. Just turn that sissy music on, goddammit. Okay, so okay, in your opinion, what made R&B so good in the 90s? What was it? What did R&B do to take center stage musically in the 90s?
This is just my opinion. I think my opinion is not that R&B wasn't great in the 80s. I just think that it was categorized differently in the 80s than what it was in the 90s. The music in the 80s was just as great and sometimes better than the music in the 90s. Because the music in the 80s, like I said, it was like some of the staple R&B music was like the staple to my life. You know what I mean? I can feel it, I can hear it, I can understand it, it meant a lot. But in the 90s, it's not that it wasn't relevant. I mean, when you go back to listen to old school music, I don't go back to the 90s. I go to the 80s. I go to the 80s. I go to some of the 70s.
Thank you, Kim.
But what I'm saying is that, there you go, Kim. There you go, Kim. Get him wrapped up.
Listen, she was only saying what I was thinking, like,
but what I'm saying
I'm about to jump in this double dutch. You know what I'm saying?
The 90s, both 80s and 90s was great, but the 80s is the pinnacle of R&B. I just think that they were just the terminology was just different back then.
The numbers don't support that it was the pinnacle of R&B.
I don't go by numbers.
Well, I'm sorry. This is an industry. This is a business,
I don't go by numbers.
And reach is reach.
I go by.
The numbers are not just what they sold. It's how many people they reached.
Because if we go by the numbers, then Boys to Men was better than R. Kelly. If we go by the numbers.
No, they weren't.
Well, go look at the numbers.
Well, R. Kelly is a soloist, and Boys to Men is a.
We're not talking. I'm talking about they broke Elvis Presley's and the Beatles record twice.
Now, if you look at their whole career, who sold more?
We're not talking about record sales.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about record sales. I'm talking about they were the pinnacle of the 90s because they were the ones that were on top of the charts on the regular. R. Kelly they were on top of the R&B charts and the pop charts. R. Kelly was on top of the R&B or the R&B chart.
If you look at the amount of songs R. Kelly beats Boyz II Men because he was busier. You had Boyz II Men killing shit from 1991 when they came out to about maybe 96, 97. From 97 to 2000, Boyz II Men was over. In the 2000s, they disappeared. Wasn't nobody fucking with them no more. So there was never an era where R. Kelly wasn't hot after 12 Play. He has not had an album that only did small numbers. They wasn't calling him the king of R&B for nothing. They never called Boyz II Men the kings of R&B. They couldn't. They couldn't do that. So, but my question to you was,
what I want to know is did R. Kelly ever stay on top of the charts for 14 or 16
That's question,
Troy. Okay, let me put it to you like this. Olivia Newton-John, her song "Let's Get Physical" was #1 for 13 or 14 weeks, right? But she's still not gonna she's not gonna beat Madonna, who didn't have a #1 song that was on the chart that was #1 that long. So although
white women, I'm talking about a black group that was on.
You're not paying attention. You gotta pay attention. Because you do something in one category does not overshadow the entire body of work. It's like the difference between a sprinter and a distance runner. A distance runner gets way more miles way more miles than a sprinter. But a sprinter is going to get to the finish line first. So that would explain Boyz II Men. They got to the finish line first, but R. Kelly was the distance runner, way more miles.
So, but you're not, listen, I'm going to leave it like this. You're not talking about the 2000s with R. Kelly. R. Kelly came out in the 90s. In the 2000s, that was all R. Kelly. In the 90s, majority of the 90s was Boyz II Men.
No, it wasn't. It was not.
Oh my God.
What do you... Boyz II Men... Boyz II Men...
had 2 albums out in the 90s.
Who had 2 albums out in the 90s?
R. Kelly had two albums out in the 90s.
Okay, name them.
The ones with him public announcement, and then him with doing 12 Play.
You finished counting?
That's the only 2 I remember.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even going to count the ones with public announcement, but since you did it, okay. So he had the first album by R. Kelly in public announcement. He had 12 Play. He had the album with Ignition on it.
The Chocolate Factory didn't come out. That came out with.
Wait, that wasn't the Chocolate Factory, sir. Whatever album it was with Ignition on it.
The Chocolate Factory.
I know I should have answered the question first.
Anyway. So then he had R that came out in 1998. So that's 4 albums. Boyz II Men had 2 albums in the 80s. I mean, in the 90s.
Jodeci had 3 in the 90s. So that's why I don't know why you would say that. Jodeci had 3 albums in the 90s.
They did.
And they were popular in the 90s, and they were listened to just like Boyz II Men, just like R.
They didn't do that. Wait a minute. Y'all, they didn't. Jodeci did not do the numbers that Boyz II Men did. They didn't
do the numbers.
It wasn't close.
Had a lot of traction.
You're right, but if we're sticking with R. Kelly, first of all, you shouldn't be putting up a solo artist versus a group. But since you're going to do it, if you take public announcement all the way to R, that's 4 albums. to Boys the Men's 2. They had two albums in the 90s. 3. Who? They had 3?
Yes.
What was their third album? Because I don't remember a Boys the Men song in 1998 or 1999. I don't remember a Boys the Men song playing.
Hold on, just keep talking.
They was dead. They was dead at the end of the 90s. And you know why? Because they was too busy crooning and making love, and Jodeci had everybody smacking bitches and you know what I mean, and smoking weed and throwing up gang signs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Jodeci killed.
They were dead during the 90s because NSYNC.
Nah. We not doing that. We not doing that. There was no Boys the Men by the end of the 90s. There was no Boys. I mean, that's my whole point. So
my turn.
I know, like, how about answering the question? What made 90s R&B so special? Fuck it, Kim. Kim, you answer the question because you don't want to do it.
Because 90s R&B was a mood. It was a movement. It brought fashion. It brought attitude. It brought heartbreak. It brought sex appeal. It brought everything in the 90s. And we could feel it. We understood it because now we're mature enough to really get into it. And then you had to know how to sing. There was no auto-tune to play with, especially in the beginning, mid-90s. There was no auto-tune. A lot of those people, falsetto was big in the 90s. A lot of those came from gospel backgrounds, and they were fighting for something. They came with grit and heart because they were fighting for something. That's the difference. And if you want to be honest, 90s hip-hop was the same way. The 90s music, especially in our community, everybody was going for the grit and the gold. Everybody was trying to find their place. And everybody was fighting to get the best look, the best style, the best hair. The accessories were big in the 90s. Who was going to have the best of everything? And everybody got rotation. Even if they weren't at the top of the charts that we didn't spend a whole lot of time looking at, even if they weren't at the top of the charts, they still got a lot of play during the 90s.
Yeah. Plus, you know who we forgot?
The 90s they didn't cross over. Everybody came to R&B. R&B didn't have to go to pop. People came to R&B. You had somebody like Justin Timberlake decide, I need to jump on this train over here instead of this one over here because this one has ran out.
John B. too. John B.
Robin Thicke knew this ain't the genre for me over here, but I bet you I can get over here. Robin Thicke and what's the other one's name?
John B.
Yeah, John B. So everybody wanted to be a part of R&B.
John B was the late 90s. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, John B was definitely nice.
But they still wanted a piece of it. They still wanted a piece of
He was doing his thing before Tupac died.
By the way, Boys the Men had 4 albums in the 90s.
You gonna count their Christmas album?
Stuff on Boys to Men.
Hold on. He really gonna count their Christmas album. This nigga gonna count. This nigga's gonna count their Christmas album. He gonna count their Christmas album. All right, man. Fuck it. You know what?
Let it snow.
Yo. I knew he was going to. I knew he was going to go far.
Considering Boys to Men had crossover appeal, they were more popular than Jodeci. Not saying Jodeci
but
wasn't
that's not what we're talking about.
But I'm telling. So what I'm saying to you, the main focus of what I'm saying is that the 80s music The reason why I like the 80s music about this, I'm going back and forth because the 80s music is what made the 90s music so great.
That's true. That is true. You had to have
music. So I
them to have the rest.
And that's right.
How did 80s, hold on, seriously, how did 80s music make 90s music better?
Okay, you want me? I'm gonna break it down to you.
It took the Trailblazers, that's for sure. It took the Trailblazers.
But let's just break it down with it.
Okay.
You had the New Edition in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Boys to Men, who pretty much are the little brothers of Boys to Men.
Don't you say Boys to Men, no damn Boys, Troy!
Hold up. You had Guy in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who stole Aaron Hall look?
Oh my God.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
Okay. But you can't. You got to do better than that. You got to do better than that.
Tell me that the 80s is makes the 90s?
First of all, you got to do better than that. You got to do better than that. You know what I
mean? We sat on the phone one time and we laughed at that. That R. Kelly stole Aaron Hall.
Listen, listen, y'all. Hold on, goddamn it. We got 23 minutes left in this show. Y'all not gonna fuck this shit up. Y'all gonna answer these questions the way that they supposed to be answered for the remainder of this show. Y'all acting like this a broke ass typewriter, and y'all just, you know what I mean? That shit just. Listen, I asked you what made R&B, 90s R&B so special, and what I mean by that is why did R&B make its mark in the 90s and make people come to it instead of it having to go to wherever everybody else was like it did in the 80s? What made it do? What gave it its muscle? I'll help.
Falsettos were big, and they were R&B was the shit. Everybody wanted a piece of it. Everybody.
But why? But why? But why? But why?
It looked like something. Because it was soulful. It came with identity. R&B was more than just a sound. R&B was a movement. It was a mood. It was an attitude. It was even now, when you look at old pictures, people, the first thing somebody say, oh, you got that old 90s R&B album cover look. Or, oh, there you go, sounding like the old 90s R&B crying ass dude, begging ass dude. Oh, you wearing that old 90s R&B vest.
I just remember seeing
90s R&B was something different. It was something. It was a whole move, and it was specific to us.
They wanted the swag that we had, so people would come towards us. But you know, when they talk about whining people, they always talk about what sounded like whining ass Keith Sweat. You're begging ass Keith Sweat, and he's an 80s guy.
Okay, this is why I think R&B.
Jodeci begged too.
I think, Jodeci did a lot of begging, and Boys the Men.
R&B dominated.
All of Boys the Men's songs, they biggest songs were all begging songs. Okay, but here's my opinion on why R&B, 90s R&B was strong. They became strong because they actually started to sell some records. So they made the industry look at them. They made other people look over and see what R&B was doing. When you saw groups that were doing things like what En Vogue was doing, you know, they had a look, they had a style, they all had talented, they all sounded like they could be soloists, but they had a group, you know what I mean, a strong female group like that. They were all pretty, whatever. They made them look appealing, and they were selling records. That's always going to help. And they did it not once, but they did it twice. They did it not twice, but they did it 3 times. So that helped out a lot. Then you had artists like Keith Sweat that really, really put his stamp in the 80s and made you start looking like, yo, this motherfucker over there selling records. You know what I mean? You know, he came in the 90s with, you know, I'll give all my love to you. He was still hot. If you think about it, all New Edition, all of their solo projects came out in the 90s. So you had, well, except for Bobby Brown. So when the rest of New Edition all went solo, you had BBD, Belle Biv DeVoe kicking it off in 1990. They had the strongest showing R&B wise in 1990 for the most part. With that Poison shit, they was killing shit. I remember hearing Casey Kasem talk about that shit on his top 10 show. He was like, yo, he called Belle Biv DeVoe the best song, the best group of the 90s out the gate. Then you had Ralph, Johnny, they all came out in the 90s. So you had these 80s R&B cats coming and stomping into the 90s in 1990 and 1991. They was smacking shit up, doing their thing. So they were experiencing like a renaissance, and you saw that they could sell records. They didn't have to cross over. They didn't have to do what everybody was doing. Plus, the New Jack Swing era started in the 80s, but when was it the strongest?
No, it got to be in the 90s.
That's like I said, it was the strongest in the 90s. It was the strongest in the 90s. But SWV, that was New Jack Swing. You still had Guy. You still had you had Teddy Riley was producing. So shit, he was producing Michael Jackson. So when Michael Jackson came out in what was it, 92 with the Remember the Time shit? So he doing New Jack Swing and all of that. R&B was killing shit. Now,
and don't forget,
Michael Jackson was
to the big screen in the 90s. More films, more movies, more productions were looking for 90s R&B music to add to their sound.
Wait a minute, Kim. Somebody's device I'm hearing. Somebody, I hear my echo. Somebody ain't doing the right thing.
Not Troy.
It's not me.
Funny how it stopped when he said it's not Troy.
You know what I mean? Now y'all want to pick on my ass right now. I want to pick.
It stopped soon. Yo, I know you got your head caught in the cookie jar a number of times in your day, nigga.
I know one thing. You just made what you just sat up here and said, son. You just made everything I said relevant. That the 80s R&B.
You see how he didn't deny it either.
It wasn't strong.
Is what made
No, it didn't.
90s relevant. You didn't jump from you didn't jump from
we
New
still
Edition. Everything New Edition did came to the 90s. Everything that Teddy Riley did came to the 90s. New Jack Swing started in the 90s. He had Keith Sweat, Heavy D, To The Day, Mo D. He told you everybody.
Don't bring up no goddamn Mo D.
This is about the New Jack
His
Swing.
shit was ass. That was ass New Jack Swing. That was bad. That was terrible New Jack Swing. Shit was ass. But anyway, Troy, here's what you fail to understand as you start to take your victory lap. As you start to take your victory lap, do you realize that we still at the beginning of the 90s? We haven't made it past 1995 yet. So you can say that the 80s made the beginning of the 90s what it was, but it ain't by 1995 it wasn't no 80s sounding shit in R&B. Now you got the Brandies, you got the Monicas, you got the Jodeci's, you got the and Jodeci was not no New Jack Swing. That was Devontae Swing. Much better. Okay, so
that was Devontae swinging bad boy, right? You right?
it was Devontae Swing before they got signed to Bad Boy. They was Swing Mob, but then you started to get the 112s. You started to get the
mint condition.
the black streets. Hold on, what did you just say? Who?
Mint condition.
Mint conditions. And like you said, the John B's, the Justin Timberlakes, they were starting to come on. You still had
Brownstone. You had Brownstone.
Shit, damn, yeah. You had
Brownstone and what's the other one?
Brownstone had one album.
They had two.
It don't matter.
They had two albums.
They still did their thing.
They had two albums.
I'm not saying that they didn't.
They had two albums. They only had two, but they had two.
Brown Jade. That's the other group, Jade. That's the one I'm thinking of, Jade.
Jade was in the beginning. They came out in '93. Don't walk away, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, but like so from '95 to 2000, R&B was murdering shit. It was murdering shit.
Aaliyah. I don't think I heard you say Aaliyah at all.
Oh, you know who I forgot? Hold on, Drew Hill. What?
Oh yeah.
Drew Hill. Huh? Huh? Oh, I forgot. Oh, wait. We forgot about the damn. Who's them? I saw the sun, the moon, and whatever. When I made love to you, who was them?
After 7.
That was after 7. Well, they was killing shit in the 90s. And after 7 was my shit. And Ready or Not. No, well, that was in the 80s. But anyway,
talking about As Yet.
As Yet. What? Yeah.
Last night, I mean, sweet love, I saw the sun.
Yeah, the moon,
the heavens, and the mountains. That's all.
Yeah, but I was talking. I was thinking about. We forgot about TLC, but I forgot about.
Forgot about Aaliyah.
I was. Oh yeah, Aaliyah. Yeah, Aaliyah, and that group. That My damn roommate in 1991, 91, he used to run
Silk.
this motherfucker.
You forgot about Silk.
Yeah, Silk, 93.
Truth.
Who? Troop?
Truth.
Troop came out in the 80s.
True was the 90s.
Troop came out in the 80s.
90s, son.
Troop came out in the 80s. Y'all motherfuckers just stop playing with me.
I gotta do my homework again.
I wasn't a parent when Troop was out, so Troop had to be out.
Troop came out in 80, 87, 88. Spread my wings, fly away. Went to a place where I long for. What are you talking about? All I do is think of you was in 88. Don't make me mad.
Look that up? Did you look that up?
I ain't gotta look it up. Y'all was there. But I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, God damn it. Tired of being right with y'all motherfuckers. Y'all non-date. Y'all non-date. What year did Troop release All I Do Is Think of You? 1989. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Stop playing with me. Say. I remember seeing them on Donnie Simpson's show. What was it called?
The Video Soul.
Video Souls. I think they was on Video L. I think they was on Video L.
I want to snap when you right, but you can't remember certain things.
Shit, I remember when they came out though, didn't I? Didn't I, Troy?
God,
didn't I, Troy?
She's hilarious.
I mean, it came out in '89. Shit.
So when did Toni Braxton came out? You don't forget about her. Wasn't she 90s?
Yeah, she was definitely 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was definitely 90s. So, okay. All right. So, now I'm definitely not saying that 80s R&B wasn't good. What I'm saying was 80s R&B wasn't as cool as 90s R. You know who we forgetting in the motherfucking 90s? Ain't nobody say Mary J. Blige? Hold on, what?
Oh yeah, she was early. 90s.
What? What's the 411?
All right, I'm gonna say.
What's the
Do we
411? Oh, what's the 411? Well, how we gonna forget
Mary's
about
the queen of hip hop soul. Mary's the queen of hip hop soul. So that's a
Mary
genre that was bars out of 90s.
It wasn't a real genre. That's why she was the queen of it.
Yeah, but it still was one that was part of 90s R&B.
It wasn't a real genre, Kim.
Shut up, Troy.
This shit crazy.
I just wanted to snap because I wanted to feel like I was sus for a minute.
I'm telling you, I'm ready to take my ruler, smack all y'all on your knuckles, man. I'm ready to fuck shit up.
You snapping on me so much, you turning light skin.
Yo, listen. Y'all about to all have detention and shit. I'm sick of this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm sending notes home, everything. Fuck out of here. All right. But yeah, so you take the bad boy movement definitely had a stronghold in the 90s R&B. They was, yeah. I would say their contribution in R&B was probably stronger than they hip hop contribution. Because when you talk about their hip hop contribution in the 90s, you only talking about two artists.
Who that?
Biggie and Craig Mack.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because you like to, you go underground sometimes.
That's why I never bigged it up, because I was like, they don't have enough catalog. They don't. You know what I mean? They didn't have enough catalog. 2 albums is 2 albums. I'm not gonna make your 2 albums.
You talking about Biggie?
And Craig Mack.
Biggie had 3 albums.
While he was alive, he had 2.
He had 3.
I'm not counting that. Album. You know what? You know what? Damn, I gotta. Shut this nigga mic off.
And get on to 2096 to 2000.
Well, we already there. We already there because we got the 702s. You got Missy Elliott kicking in the door. You
didn't say Kelly Price. You didn't say Deborah Cox. You didn't say Genuine.
I need help.
You didn't say Daniel Jones. You didn't say Usher.
I kill.
You know who else I didn't say? You know who else I didn't say? I didn't say Tevin Campbell. Shout out to Tevin Campbell.
Oh, yeah?
That's right.
Well, we might as well say Shanice as well.
Yeah, we definitely have to say Shanice as well. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no denying that 90s R&B was stronger.
Shanice came out in the early
90s. 90s R&B. 90s was literally the R&B decade. Literally.
80s and 90s.
No. People always talk about 90s R&B. They don't be talking about no 80s R&B. They don't.
But what is the group that Keith Sweat, the girls from Keith Sweat?
Cut Close, but that was the 90s.
Yeah, Cut Close. They were 90s.
Mm-hmm. But they only had one album.
It don't matter. It was still bomb.
Go ahead, tell them.
All of they best songs wasn't even on their album.
They still did well.
Okay.
People still were playing their music and singing their songs.
I don't know. Did they play their actual album, or did they play the Keith Sweat song?
They played the singles. In the 90s, singles, even though everybody was trying to put out an album, singles were still big in the 90s.
They only had one single that came out that was banging, that was on the charts like that, and that was I Like the Way You Kiss Me.
Yeah, I only remember that. They had a good. The album was good, but you're right.
Hell yeah.
The album was banging, but yeah, they only had that one song. Keith Sweat shit.
They only had one song.
Cut Close. They only had one song that was released that was popular.
No.
Okay, name the other song then.
Go Then that's what I was
They
saying.
didn't have no one song that was released.
Name the other one. Go ahead. You got your phone next to you. You the computer analyst and everything. You know you can Google all that
They had
shit.
the song that Keith Sweat sang on with it.
They was on his albums. Nobody. You know,
Get
you
up on it. Get up on it. That's the one
know,
I'm
you're
thinking of.
loving, baby. You got me twisted. Oh, you got me twisted.
No, get up on it. Don't change.
Get up
That
on
was
it.
their song.
Get up on it was on Keith Sweat's album. That's not their song.
Okay.
Yeah, that
In the
wasn't.
child's place, okay? In the child's place.
Who you talking to, Troy? Who you
You
talking
know
to?
what?
Who you talking to, Troy? Oh, nobody? Okay. Nobody, baby. All right.
Yeah, that was on.
Yeah, I remember.
That was on-
He comes from the 80s.
That
He
was
comes
on-
from the 80s.
Okay, when did he sell the most records?
Say that
In the
again?
90s.
Easily.
And
Okay,
y'all
man.
forgot about Subway. They may have had one, but Subway.
How about Tony?
And Soul For Real. When was Soul For Real? Weren't they 90s?
Definitely, 1995. They came out in 1995. Tony actually came out in the 80s. They came out like 88.
First song. What was their first song? What was their first song called?
Hey Little Walter.
Yes, it was. There you go, son. Thank you.
That's the one I remember.
It was, you know what
Who's
they
in the
were?
video?
80s.
Who's in the video?
I don't remember who was in the video, but I did see the video.
Sinbad was in the video.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never liked them either.
Yeah, he was.
No, I didn't like Sinbad. Yeah.
There you go.
I did.
You ain't like Billy Ocean or Sinbad.
They pretty much in the same category. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit.
All right.
90s was a vibe at the end of the day. 90s R&B was a vibe. It was the birth of other genres. They came from the womb of 90s R&B.
Well,
Where it come from?
all of Mariah best shit. All of Mariah Carey best shit was definitely in the 90s. She was killing it.
Yeah, but she wasn't R&B. Mariah wasn't R&B.
She was R&B. She was R&B. Yeah.
Started out, she was R&B with crossover appeal. So that put her on a pop.
She started over. Okay, so if you say that, then you have to say that Whitney Houston was
Same thing with
pop.
Whitney, right?
All right.
Same thing with Whitney.
Well, I say that Whitney had pockets. She started off R&B, then she went pop, and then by the time she came out with I'm Your Baby Tonight, she was back on the R&B train. Same thing with Mariah.
I'm Your Baby Tonight was still on the pop charts. Once she did the song I Want to Dance with Somebody that love me.
Wait a minute, wait. The I'm Your Baby Tonight album. When you listen to that album, you don't get a bunch of pop songs. You
don't get a bunch of pop songs, but since it's Whitney.
All right. My name is not Susan. My name is not Susan. Whitney was not pop. You know what I'm saying? We gonna stop this bullshit. She was America's sweet. She was America's sweetheart.
And then she came back to R&B.
Well, she was R&B by the time she got on crack.
Yo.
In 1991.
I'm on the phone, but I'm looking at you on YouTube on your YouTube channel, and you got me cracking the fuck up.
He's very animated.
Oh, this shit is crazy. What about Tina Marie? Where we put Tina Marie at?
Tina Marie does not fit into 90s R&B.
She the 70s. She the 70s, dog.
No!
She's in the 80s.
She came out in the 70s. She came out in 1978.
Came out in late 70s, but was popular in the 80s.
True, but she's a 70s artist because that's when she came out. You can't change your birth date. Sorry.
She's not 90s though. That's something. Okay.
She lasted into the 90s.
Yes, she did.
She lasted into the
She
2000s.
wasn't 90s R&B popularity like the others.
Anyway,
I can't take away she had great music.
Let me ask you a question.
what's your question? I'm going to give y'all 15 minutes of overtime, and then that's it. Tick, tick.
Don't let this
tick.
be some dumb, Troy.
No, I'm not going to ask a question. I'll let you speak first.
No.
Look, y'all wasting time. All right.
But
Okay.
this better not be nothing about boys to men. It better be nothing about a damn 80s. None
Okay.
of that shit.
All right. Now check this out, y'all.
I did it with me and son had a debate about Blackstreet before. He didn't believe me. And since I learned how to what is it, son, with my phone? Since I learned how to send you this shit through the phone.
Screenshot, yeah. All right.
So look, I sent all the shit to him through my phone.
All right, now make your point. Make your point.
Like I said, the 80s was more is the father to the 90s. Without the 80s, you don't branch off to the early 90s, and them early 90s artists are the ones that brought forth after the 95 artists. So all of it coincides with anything. So the 80s the 80s decade is the great R&B decade. That's just how I feel.
Well, it's not, because they didn't dominate. They didn't dominate the decade. But they didn't dominate the decade.
But you cannot talk. You can't take my opinion away from me, son. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that.
80s R&B did not dominate the 80s. Pop music dominated the 80s. Even hip hop dominated the 80s more than R&B. It did. Now what you got in the 90s was hip hop really getting into the R&B. You really started seeing a lot of hip hop being
collaboration.
Yeah. You had the Maya with the with Jay-Z.
Go ahead. What up? Huh?
Oh shit. The late 90s.
Nas with Lauryn Hill.
Nas with Lauryn Hill. That's right. Nas with Lauryn Hill. Yeah, they did. Nas
with Lauryn Hill. Mariah with the Locks and Mace.
SWV and Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Another platinum head.
Mariah Carey with Old Dirty Bastard.
Kim said that. But Mariah did a few songs with
Brandy and Mace. Remember, Brandy and Mace did a song too.
Brandy and Mace and Mason and Mariah Carey.
Brandy also did a song. Brandy also did a song with YA from Boyz II Men.
Yeah, and Mariah Carey did a song with Boyz II Men. And it was a better song.
Yes, with Boyz II Men. Yes.
It was a better song.
Broke.
I remember the lyrics. I remember the lyrics. I know one day. Wait.
That's not how it goes.
Wait. Hold on.
I never told you all that I wanted to say. One Sweet Day.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, Stilo, remember Stilo was a crossover with Standing Up to Missy Elliott.
I know you go. Oh, I remember the lyrics. I remember the lyrics. I know you're going down on me like heaven. Just like them Jones I boned back in the day. And I know one day I'm gonna get my dick sucked. One sweet day. I remember the remix. I got that shit. I got that on 52nd Street.
I
That shit was banging.
would have been singing that, but I know the best remix.
You did. Hold on. You didn't even know Darling Nikki. Hold on, Miss. I didn't know Darling Nikki was about no nasty shit.
I do.
I'm getting dizzy. Okay.
I wouldn't have been singing those songs talking about I got my dick sucked being that I don't have one.
But you,
It takes me out that you listened to Darling Nikki and you didn't read between the lines that she was masturbating.
Wait a minute. Read between what lines? What lines were there to read between? He said, I guess you can say she was a sex fiend. Anyway, he ain't leave nothing to...
Once we said the word sex,
he said, seen her masturbating with a magazine. What imagination did you have to use? Like,
I didn't have to because I wasn't a fast little girl.
Did you have a dictionary? Hold on, did you have a dictionary? Did you have a dictionary? Because a lot of girls your age at that time was whacking off. You know what I mean?
Dictionaries and encyclopedias, and those were words I was looking up.
Well,
so who the fuck? I wasn't trying to school. Listen to me.
I worked on my vocabulary.
My life in a family with people. That's what you had to focus on.
I had to work.
English,
I've worked on my spelling words. Masturbating happened to be one of them.
I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do that because I was just spelling.
I was one of the best spellers in the class.
On spelling words.
I was one of the best spellers in the class. I had to know how, so I had to know how. I had to know the meaning of these words and how to spell them. Had to sign them out. Hooked on phonics. Okay. Anyway, the bottom line is, okay, how what are we doing? How we doing? Okay, we good. So where 80s R&B was trying to cross over into pop, I think it's safe to say that 90s R&B started crossing over into hip hop more. But that also shows you the strength of that hip hop had in the 90s as well as R&B. Now, the question I have to y'all is which one was stronger?
R&B or hip hop?
Yeah, in the 90s.
Ooh. It depends, because in the beginning it was R&B, but in the end it was hip hop.
Hip hop was the strongest in the 90s.
I think it has to be. I think it has to be hip hop.
You mean to tell me we agree with something?
In the beginning, not
Listen, I'm dealing with we dealing with actual facts. How can you deny the strength of hip hop in the fucking 90s?
The 90s is the 90s.
It didn't have strength, but in the beginning was more R&B, and then eventually hip hop didn't just take over and dominate it all.
Well, I don't know, because you had the MC Hammers, you had the NWAs in the 90s, you had the whole West Coast movement. And then the South started coming on, and you can't with Dr. Dre.
Who got a MC Hammer fans?
No, hell no. The fuck out.
I've never had a MC. I don't even like MC Hammer.
No. But anyway, so you know what Dr. Dre did with the Chronic and Snoop Dogg did with Doggy Style, you know, like the muscle.
Hip hop, that's right.
Hip hop.
Don't do that. Don't make me cut your mics off. I will do it. I'm not listening to that. I'm not listening to that. We're not doing that. We're not fucking doing that right now. We are not doing that. Anyway, Biggie, you know, you had Craig Mack first, then the whole Jay-Z came out, Nas, in the beginning of the 90s, Public Enemy, fucking Third Base, De La Soul, can't forget Kane and
Tribe.
Yeah, Tribe. I was gonna say Biz. Hip hop definitely was working out in the gym hard in the 90s. Fugees.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you ready to say fuck the Fugees too?
No. I like the food. I like the Fugees. I actually did. I actually
I
like.
was waiting for you to say. I was waiting for you to put them over there with Billy Ocean and
Well, no. Because I remember when the Fugees first started out. I didn't know that they would become the Fugees that they became that second album. They sophomore album fucking killed. You know what I mean?
the score, yeah, the score gets it.
Yeah, they first joint was a lot different than they second album.
Shit, let's even
So
go
you
deeper.
put Fugees in
Let's
the
go
same
deeper.
category as NWA?
Brand Nubians. You got the Brand Nubians.
I wouldn't put the Fugees in the same category as an NWA because NWA made their mark. They pioneered something. I don't consider the Fugees to have pioneered.
Rap and Fugees is hip hop.
What do hip hop artists do?
Party.
Oh, nah, you don't want to. Oh my God.
Hip hop is party music.
Oh my God, boy. You gonna stop it.
Please.
You gonna stop
Please. I know I gotta pick up some equipment. Y'all not gonna do this shit to me. I'm gonna fix this shit. I'm gonna fix this shit.
You asked her what does hip hop artists do? She said party.
That was a good enough answer. I'm gonna take that answer because everybody fucking know what the real answer was. This shit is.
Oh my goodness, boy.
I swear to God, boy.
And with her saying that, I'm gonna go back to Boys to Men. Like,
You know what?
Yeah, and Troy can have Boys to Men because he gonna play as soon as we get out of here until he go to sleep. Then I can have my difference between hip hop and rap, and it's a difference. If you can't put Fugees in the same category as NWA or Snoop and Dre, then it's a difference.
What do you mean I can't put them in the same category?
I asked you about NWA. Would you put them in the same category with Dr. Dre and Snoop?
I mean, they don't have the same styles. Like NWA was like
exactly.
But that doesn't.
But it's different. Both of them are rap, but it's different styles of rap.
I'm gonna do
R&B rap.
I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna ask a question right now that really terrifies me to ask, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Kim, what is the difference between rap and rap and hip hop?
Go ahead, Kim.
To me, hip hop has more of a party feel. Hip hop to me would be Your Kid and Play. That would be the Fugees. That would be Grand Poobah. That would be. That's not the same to me as Wu-Tang. That's not the same to me as Dre. That's not the same as Too Short. Like if I can play hip hop in front of my mother and my grandma. I'm not playing Too Short in front of my mother. I'm not singing that in front of my dad. Like right now, I'm not going to be in front of him talking about stay home. Yeah, you. Would you like to fuck? I'm not singing that in front of my dad.
So, okay. Like KRS-One said, rap is what you do, hip hop is what we live, right?
So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is.
Now,
it's the same category, but different,
the thing is,
styles.
But see, hip hop, according to people like KRS-One, is not just rap music. It's DJing, is break dancing, is graffiti. It's a culture.
B-boying, all that.
Yeah. So,
but a lot of that is East Coast. It's not West Coast.
West Coast does the same thing, Tim. They do graffiti, they do hip hop,
I think the birth of it is East Coast. The birth of it is East Coast.
Yes,
and the feeling, you get more of that feel in the East Coast. You don't get that same feel in the West Coast.
So what type of feeling do y'all have down there in Indiana?
Shit, nothing.
in the West Coast, they definitely do hip hop. And There
You must
is,
never seen the
if
movie
you rap,
Breaking'.
and if you rap,
Of
you
course
are.
I seen Breaking'.
I wish I didn't see Breaking'. I wish I could unsee it. Fucking whack ass movie. Whack ass.
Another nice thing to say.
Shit was trash. And in the second one, Electric Boogaloo, that shit made me throw
That's
up.
the worst one. That's the worst one.
That shit was 90 minutes of fucking making me want to Earl. All right, y'all, we getting up out of here.
I know one thing. If even though it was birthed in the East Coast, it spread it nationally. The West Coast does have b-boy, graffiti writing, and breakdancing and all that stuff. So there's portions of that out there. So hip hop is a way of life. Rapping, like you just said up here, what you said that Carousel said is perfect. Is a perfect analogy. Now, Kim, I don't know what you mean by there's a difference between hip hop and rap, but we're gonna live with it.
Okay.
It might be the feeling. I can agree. It's the same category, but it's just a different mood. It's a different attitude. It is.
Well, you know how you have subcultures of the same culture. So just like you may have conscious hip hop, and you have like gangster hip hop, or you may have trap music, or there's subdivisions, there's subgenres of the same genre. You know what I mean? But it's still all hip hop. It still fits under that umbrella. It's like it's like having a department store. You still shopping at Macy's, even if you went to the Gucci shop, but you got it at Macy's. You know what I mean?
I can agree with you.
Pretty much the family. It's like having a family tree. Hip hop is the family tree, and the branches off that tree are the genres of the rap music.
Okay, that's cool.
So I said something right. At the end,
all right, yo.
It's not what you remember in the middle, is what you remember at the end.
That's what's up. Before I let y'all go, I'm not fucking with y'all. Before I let y'all go, let's take a look at the results of this poll. And I think this I know this poll is very pleasing to my South Philly brother. Which is your favorite? 80s R&B, 39%. 90s R&B, 26%. I want to know who fucking sabotaged this goddamn poll. 80s hip hop, 6% for 80s hip hop, 6% for 80s hip hop, and 29% for 90s hip hop. Hold on. That's disrespectful. Hold on. 80s hip hop got straight disrespected.
Troy put on his hammer pants and don't listen to Billy Ocean.
6% for 80s hip hop? That is disrespectful as hell.
Go back when you hang up the phone, Kim. The only thing I want you to do is this. Go listen to Darling Nikki again. So you can understand what
T. Carrie Wright said she saw you vote twice. This is voter fraud. This shit is MAGA. This shit is straight MAGA. This fucking poll is MAGA. This MAGA control bullshit. Where's Elon Musk? This is an Elon Musk poll.
Elon Musk bought
I'm saying, somebody just got $1 million for voting for 80s R&B. Fuck out of here.
I'm trying to tell you, son. It's in the music, son.
Anyway, man, we about to do these birthday shout outs. I want to thank y'all both. I want to thank the both of y'all for coming on the show. I really appreciate all your insight and your commentary and your intelligence and your acumen and your communication. And I want to thank your kids. I want to thank your grandmas. I want to thank your neighbors.
I want everybody in the live stream to do this. When y'all hang up, go listen to Boys II Men's Christmas album.
Oh my God. Have a great one, everyone. Stay safe.
Yo, I talk to y'all tomorrow if possible. Get some rest.
All right.
Good shit, y'all. We about to do these birthday shout outs. And then I'm gonna let you good people go ahead and do what y'all do on a late night. All right, we have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious May 9th, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special, because they are special, because they are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They get number one out the box. My girl Nicole Crampton, PSU stand up, and also Dawn Spicer. Happy birthday, and my cuz Shari Williams and Tamika Ali. Happy birthday, and Lene Harold and Yaris Perez and KK Fulton. And last but not least, Darlene Jameson. I want to say happy birthday to all of y'all. And I hope that today finds you all in good health, happiness, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And that goes out to each and every person out there born on this glorious May 9th, anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally. All of y'all go ahead and turn up. But don't turn up too loud, just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on and do the damn, the rock out. Rock on and do the damn rock out. Rock on and do the damn thing, you do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings, you do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, So I think we had a good discussion tonight, y'all. 80s R&B versus 90s R&B. Well. Listen, man, we have a lot of fun on these Friday nights talking about music shows. You know what I mean? We all love music. We all grew up, listening with our ears to the radio. Those of y'all who had tape players, whether you had a cassette player on your stereo where you could record, or whether you had a portable cassette player where you had to put the cassette player next to the speaker on a radio and tape your songs or whatever, getting all kinds of commercials and all of that shit with their people talking, people talking to the background on your tape and all of that. Remember them days? Well, yeah, that's what the 80s symbolized to me. We started to come up out of it a little bit more in the 90s when we had jobs, started to come of age a little bit. We could have our own stuff. Technology was upgraded and all of that. No disrespect to 80s R&B or hip hop. As far as I'm concerned, they were the foundation that got us to the advancement of where we are now. The question that we have to ask is, with with R&B being as strong as it was in the 80s and as stronger as it was in the 90s, what happened to R&B? What happened to the R&B groups? All of those R&B groups that we named from the 90s. What happened to the R&B group? Can you name even one R&B group, an organic R&B group now? What happened? We have plenty of R&B solo artists, but what happened to the group? What happened to the group? We still have hip hop groups, but what happened to the R&B group? Did we leave those in the 90s or the 2000s possibly? You know what I mean? Shit. Did we lose the R&B groups with B2K and shit like that? Where'd he go? It seems like all of the R&B groups that we know of today are from yesterday. I don't see any R&B groups popping up, cropping up. The record company has really, really changed since the 80s and the 90s. In the 80s and the 90s, we were still buying albums, cassettes, CDs. With the digital music, music now and the streaming platforms, we don't buy music anymore. But I don't know what effect that has had on the groups. but we just don't see them anymore. It's almost like a dinosaur. It's almost like a typewriter. You just don't have the same uses like it used to. I want to thank all y'all for coming through, man. Appreciate it. Please, on your way out, please hit the like button, share the show, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. And we will be back tomorrow, which is actually today, 1:30 p.m. We will be right back here, tall in the saddle. And I think I have a topic for y'all that I can tell y'all in advance, so y'all can see what it's going to be hitting for tomorrow. Let me see, because sometimes I have topics and I'll be like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. Tomorrow, I believe we're going to talk about when you need a team around you and when you don't. Think about that, how you navigate through your life. Times when you needed a team at your back, and times when you like, nah, I'm solo. So just like we was just talking about what happened to the R&B group, when were the times in your life where you needed those support systems, and when were those times where you was like, nah, I got this? So more than likely, that's what we'll talk about. But sometimes things happen. I might have a hell of a dream tonight and dream of a better one. But for now, tentatively, it's going to be when you need a team and when you don't. So make sure y'all tune in. Same channel, subscribe to the channel, join the channel, man. You know what I mean? Let's get it popping with the memberships. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna cost you a lot. Make sure it's worth it for you. 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come through Urban Therapy with Sun Show. Shit is gonna be hot. All right, y'all have a good night. A good night. I said have a good night. 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 I said I have a good night. Good nights, yo. Yo, you know. I said I have a good night, yo, take no shorts. Everybody's gonna be out there, nobody got caught. We on the run, but we still having fun. Ain't nobody chasing around you with no guns. We relaxed and we unified. Make sure you get a little high but not fried. Yo, get a little tipsy. Everybody's in this place and they all with me. I feel good when I have my peoples around. I make sure the love is being found and it is abound. And I'm down like this. I make sure we get fried like fish. Speaking of fish, yo, that's my favorite. And we gonna make sure we do this shit and not behave like a man is supposed to do. Responsibilities, nobody trying to kill me. Will we be together forever? We together for now, and yo, I won't clown. I value my peeps, and I'ma make sure when I go to sleep, I pray for what I sow and for what I reap. You understand what I'm talking about? Don't sleep on this type of thing. Yo, stay woke. Yo, I ain't trying to be broke as a joke. Sometimes I got a little cash, but I make sure that I put a little bit in the stash. Yo, save it for a rainy day. Yo, I got a little something to say to my people who don't know me well. I'm born to be up in this thing, and you can tell that we got a mission. Yo, I ain't on a star, but I'm still wishing up on a star. Yeah, shout out to Rolls Royce. Yo, they used to have the golden voice, and yeah, the choices of a new generation. It makes me feel good. Give me this sensation that I know that I'm feeling it. Like how, or what we doing now? See y'all tomorrow at 1:30. Even though it's the day, we doing things our way. Yo, what up, my peoples? Yo, thanks for coming on through. You know how we do. Yeah, we going to end off this song, but I'm glad y'all all came around, still stringing along. But nobody faking it, just like a brand new test, and I'm taking it. And it soothes like a pill. You didn't think it would, but I knew that it will. Keep everybody interested. It's like Pinterest. Fuck that Facebook. It's a look. Yo. Yo, shout out to the grant. Nah, fuck that shit, yo. Peace. We out of here. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe to the channel. And like I said, peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death. Resuscitate y'all. I love y'all right back to life. Holla back. Peace.